secretary has some legal responsibilities, and these relate to the filing and so on that the organization must do on an annual basis, certain returns that may need to be submitted, etc. But like a lot of things that are documented in company law, where good secretaries or good CEOs or good chairs, where they kind of earn their reputation is not so much for the discharge of the legal responsibilities, but it's about all of the other things that surround that. So for me then, the other facets of the secretary's job will include the secretary being a counselor. And by that, I mean somebody who maybe is an advisor to the board and to individual directors. They may have to be the board's representative, particularly where the board comprises exclusively non-executive directors. So I'll talk about that a little bit later on. The secretary is going to be, to some extent at least, is going to be a legal advisor. So even if you're not a properly or fully qualified lawyer, the board will have a certain expectation that you will have an appreciation of the core elements of kind of company law, or perhaps charity law in the case of charities, to be able to advise the board on those matters. The secretary sometimes also has to be a social secretary, because there will be certain kind of social activities around the board that maybe need to be organized. So the secretary may have an event management role. The secretary also kind of is in part a historian, because ultimately the papers that are presented to boards, the minutes of board meetings, provide a really important part of the social history of an organization. And these are all roles that we all need to be kind of conscious of, in addition to, say, the legal responsibilities perhaps as defined in company law or corporate law in whatever jurisdiction you happen to operate in. So for me, it's in these ways then that the secretary kind of can add real value. And of course, the secretary, because he or she is navigating kind of this space between the directors and the executive and so on, has to be a diplomat, in my opinion, to be able to manage those relationships. And of course, the secretary has to be a scribe, because some of the most important documents in the organization are going to be written by the secretary, and the secretary is effectively the keeper of many of the important records and so on within the organization. So while scribe might be a very old-fashioned word to use in the 21st century, effectively to accurately record the proceedings at board meetings is a core skill that is not going away anytime soon. But if we take all of this together then, for me, the key position that any secretary who is aspiring to kind of grow in the role or aspiring to do the job better, what that person needs to be striving for is to be a trusted advisor. So taking all of the things and so on the slide here, so what is it that I need to do to be seen by the board as a trusted advisor? And I will come back to that at the very end of the session this morning.